What is up, guys? What's going on? So over the last couple days, been digging into this whole issue a little bit more, and thanks to your comments and some of the ideas that you gave me, I was able to kind of analyze the situation a little bit better and maybe understand a little bit more about what happened. Not 100% confirmation smoking gun resolution to the issue, but I feel like I understand it more and can kind of narrow it down a little bit. So that's what I'm going to go over in this video. I'll also show you some other stuff with the transmission that I had a dream about. But let's get going on it. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the people that have been commenting, supporting, hating, doing whatever you got to do on the videos lately. The positive comments are awesome. They really keep me motivated. And the negative comments are awesome. And they really keep me motivated. So keep doing what you guys are doing. I love it. It's great. All the support is amazing. I've been doing this YouTube thing for about 9, almost 10 years now. So I really know the people who are genuinely giving suggestions and the people who are really just here to talk shit. So you don't bother me at all, and you kind of make it fun, because I'll be here longer than you, and let's get into it. Let me show you my shaft. Alright guys, so I want to explain this the best I can, or what I think happened. So this is the slip yoke, and keep in mind, after this failure, the slip yoke was still inside of the transmission. So inside the slip yoke, inside this little cup here, you can see all the needle bearings. There's a bunch of needle bearings there. But look at this section right here. This section is broken. Everything is okay. This is broken. This section doesn't have a cap in it, obviously. But look at the damage on the inside of there. So you can see some damage from almost like a little bit of a round thing. And there's also some damage on the inside here. So let's assemble this thing and do some little analysis on this. So this is rotating when it's inside the truck in this direction, right? So this is rotating. So if we had a situation where this cap would fall out, for example, this would start rotating like this, or this would start doing this. So, which, if you look on the inside of here, how beat up this is. So this tells me that this cap fell out, and this thing was going back and forth like this for I don't know, a couple times. Probably it happened really fast, I would think, but it definitely did it. Either way. So now again, look at these marks inside of here, where this is all chipped out and broken. So if you look at this, and I put this thing together, if this goes all the way this direction, this will clear that section right where that's broken out right there. Takes a little bit, just in the right spot, but you can see right where it's difficult to get it out, but you can see where that would perfectly break that out of there. And the width of this section that's missing is like the exact same width as a corner that would have chipped that out of there. So my thought here is, while this thing's whipping around, and get this back in, while this thing's rotating extremely fast, it was either locked in position as it was rotating, and as I lifted, it like freed this up and then started to wobble quick and broke this thing. And came out. That's my thought, that this was the first place to become disconnected from the driveline. because the slip yoke was still inside the transmission. So if it would have disconnected at the back or where the shaft broke, this would have been pulled out if this was still connected. So this is my thought, is that this was broken first, this came disconnected, and then whipped around because this was still inside the trans. This is where it was split, right in the middle. But you can see this big rust mark right here, this dent. And this is a mark from a cross member, and I'll show you that when we go underneath the truck. But this is definitely a solid, very, very strong hit on the cross member there, which would make sense if the front became disconnected and it was whipping around and slammed against the cross member when it became disconnected. My thought is that it came disconnected, it like started to wobble, slipped the cap out of the U-joint, and then the force was so strong as it was rotating out of center that it kind of whipped the whole transmission, front of the transmission down, back of the transmission up. It happened very fast. This came disconnected, slammed down against the cross member, somehow became split at that time because of this hit. This hit was probably very strong and split it in the middle, because this thing is like perfectly split down the center. So if this was out of center at all, if this was out of center at all in the front, and it was starting to like jump rope, somebody actually left a comment like that, and they said that it would start jump roping, which I thought was a very good description of what it's doing, and that would explain why it's split in the middle. So now let's check this out right here. This is the front of the rear section of the drive shaft. Look at all these marks. Look at all these marks. All the way around. Like, this thing was rubbing for a long time and spinning. This section, I believe, actually got smashed towards the end of the video when it broke, if you reference that, when it finally started to dig in the ground. But if you watch the video, there was a loud and then it was quiet for a while. You didn't hear anything. You saw some stuff kind of flying out the back, but it was quiet. It didn't hear anything. So I'll show you why that happened. But keep this in mind about all these marks here. So basically what happened, this thing flew up, and it ended up getting stuck up in the bed and in the frame. So believe it or not, I think I got pretty lucky there that this thing whipped around and got stuck up after it broke. And I'll show you why. Alright, so here we are underneath the truck. So you can see the scratch marks here. This is where the front of the drive shaft actually did come up and hit the trans tunnel. So here's about where the cross member is. Tail shaft is in this range. So you can see that it hit in multiple spots. It hit here, it hit here. There's some marks here, it hit here. Like, this thing was all over the place, whipping around. So if we slide back a little bit, here's that cross member I was talking about. This thing actually looks like it's dented or whatever, but you can see right here, that is the mark that's in the drive shaft. So as it came disconnected from the slip yoke, it whipped around and was rubbing all up in the trans tunnel here and slammed really hard here one time, at least one time. Probably when it first came disconnected and slammed down, and then it was probably tumbling around in here a little bit. So let's back up a hair, just a smidge. Now look at this. Schwingy dinky dinky. So this is probably when it snapped in half, the drive shaft broke. So this is probably hitting up all in here, up in here, up in here, just like your favorite song. Also see some marks on the gas tank protector thingy dingy. where it hit there a couple times. But what's interesting, look at this. This is kind of surprising because this is where I believe the drive shaft got stuck, up here. So if you watch the video, it booms, breaks, and then it's quiet. But you can tell that there's definitely some marks up here where this was stuck and this was spinning. So the drive shaft got wedged up in here between the bed and the frame, these cross members, and was sitting here spinning until I slowed down enough that it eventually popped out. And then started hitting the ground. That's when you hear the and you can see the camera vibrating and all that junk. So I hit here, was whipping around, got wedged, and that's basically what I think happened. One fun little tidbit, the flex plate actually flexed so much that it dug into the oil pan, just from the weight that was hanging on the front of it. So I'm going to remove this flex plate, and I'm probably gonna, I might not take the whole crank out of it, but I'm going to definitely check the crank bearings, and honestly I might just take the crank out and have it rebalanced. Holy gas lines coming in my face. A crankshaft shop is going to be doing my drive shaft, or that's where I'm going to take it. So I might honestly just have them redo the crankshaft, or at least verify the balance, make sure the crankshaft is okay when I bring the drive shaft in, because I have 300 miles on this engine. So if I feel like if I don't check that and at least make sure it's okay, I'm kind of setting myself up to be in the same position later. So here's the bell housing. I didn't even take the bell housing off yet. Look at this thing. It's all just snapped off. What I think is really impressive is that right there. It's bolted in and it just sheared off of that dowel pin. The alignment pin just snapped it right off. Boom. Ba-boom. A few of you guys were asking to see this. That's where the block is actually broken. You can see it just snapped the threads right off. I actually found the bolt in the road. I went back to go check it. I found the bolt in the road. So you could tell that it snapped that off. I couldn't find the tab anywhere. You can tell the bolt rode in the transmission for a little while, and then it fell out. What's going on, fellas? So, I know, hey, some of you guys are going to absolutely crucify me for this, but I think most of you will appreciate it. I'm going to pull the whole transmission back apart. I'm not going to do it all in this video. I'll spare you guys because you just watched it twice. But I'm going to pull some of it apart, almost the whole thing, because when I was laying in bed this morning, I thought about something. And why I think about this stuff when I'm laying in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning instead of sleeping is beyond me, and that's probably why I never sleep. But there is a lube hole that needs to be aligned in the sun gear in the lower section here. And I did not do that, or at least I don't remember verifying that it was actually done. So now I want to check this because I'm paranoid about it. So instead of just going for it, I'm gonna pull it all apart again just to double check. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so there's a sun gear. There's a sun gear down in here. And this sun gear, there's a couple things about this. This beveled edge needs to go down towards the back end of the trans. So this end is not beveled, this one's beveled. So I know that that was right because I checked that. So there's this little lube hole. And it was being a little stubborn, so I got a little confused there, but This lube hole needs to line up with these little notches that are in this thing. You can see them little squared out notches. That lube hole is supposed to line up. And I don't know why this one is being so stubborn. It doesn't want to go in here. That lube hole is supposed to line up with that little square notch. And I don't think I did that, or I don't remember verifying it and making sure that it was in the right spot when I did the other one. This one is like really stubborn. Let's see how that lube hole is lined up in that little square slot. That's supposed to be how that is. And I'm going to take it all apart again just to make sure that that's like that. So I know that this thing is being lubricated properly. Torrington bearing goes whoop-ah, like this. Thrust washer goes like this. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. And I wanted to explain this to you because I might have made a mistake, and I want to share that with you. And if it's right, it's right. If it's not, at least I know I checked it. Obviously, I lost sleep over it last night because I thought about it at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to check it now. So just to make sure, we'll do that. All right, so I just pulled that sun shaft out, and it was lined up. It was perfect. So I must have did it when I was assembling it. Must have did it just subconsciously, and because I knew it needed to be done. So maybe I just did it without thinking about it, or I got lucky and it was just in the right spot. But it was good. I verified it, and it is good again now. But just for giggles, I pulled the snap ring off of this direct drum here, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So, I'm going to pull some of these out of here. And I wanted to look at these. Because apparently, I did such a shitty job on the rebuild that everything's all burnt up and screwed up again. So I wanted to show these. I mean, these are like perfect. They still have the little lines in them. There's like nothing worn off of these because I said there was clutch material in the pan. So I'm like pretty sure that the clutch material was coming from the torque converter, clutch being locked up while I was wide open throttle, because when I look at the scan, the torque converter was locking up during shifts at wide open throttle. So I think that that was happening. And that's probably explaining the burn mark on the back of the converter, because it was getting hot. It was locking up during shifts. So wide open throttle early in the gear, 2-3 shift, the converter was locked up. So that could explain where some of the clutch material is coming from. And yeah, and everything else is clean. So I just wanted to show that. And this is the direct drum, which is probably getting the brunt of the abuse in third gear, at least from my little bit of understanding of this. So we're going to slap this hunk of crap back together, because the sooner we get this thing together, the sooner I can break it again and get everybody really agitated. Alright, so just for giggles and jiggles, I'm going to be very aware of this bearing that is on there. I'm going to flip this thing over, and there's another clutch pack inside here. I'm going to take the snap ring apart. And well, let's check these out. Let's just see. Let's just see what they look like. So there's another clutch right there. And I might not even be able to get that out of there. I don't want to take this thing too far apart. There's another thrust washer. So look at this thing, guys. Everything is like totally good. That is like a brand new clutch. So just, I guess, to alleviate any concerns that there was like other issues going on inside the trans. I mean, there was like really nothing going on there, kids. So yeah, I'm gonna throw this thing back together. Like that, but we'll actually do it the right way. Watch this. We'll even put the whole thing back together. And we'll fight with this thing for 20 minutes. Whipper dipper snap ring in there. So let me know what you think, guys. Do you agree with my hypothesis about what happened here? Do you completely agree with it? You disagree, you somewhat agree, you somewhat disagree, or you extremely disagree. You know what I'm saying? 1 through 5 kind of shit. But no, really, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Is it something completely crazy going on? I'm gonna send the torque converter in. I should probably put this in the beginning of the video. So I also want to let you guys know before we get into it, I'm going to send the torque converter back to Roadrunner Converters. That's who made it. I contacted them, they responded, they said of course I can send it in, they'll do a complete analysis on it and tell me what is or is not wrong with it. So my hunch is that the burn marks on the back of it are probably from torque converter lockup while wide open throttle and shifting through gears. So probably shouldn't be doing that, but I want to see kind of what happened. I believe this is a single disc converter, and maybe that's what torched it. So I'm almost thinking that the clutch material in the pan is because of the torque converter. That's where the burn marks came from. Wide open throttle, locked up shifting, which I'm planning on changing in the tune later. That is about it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all the support lately. There's been a whole lot of comments and all kinds of good stuff, very positive stuff. But thanks for watching, guys. If you like sandwiches, hit the like button. Have a good night.